Listen in the car with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on the News Talk app. Powered by Go Loud. On 106 to 108 FM. On the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is News Talk.
It's 9 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Quisha Conley. The Chief Medical Officer has urged people to ration the number of people they meet to help bring down the levels of COVID-19. 3,174 new cases have been reported today, which is an estimation due to a technical problem. There are currently 460 patients in hospital with the virus, and 86 of those are in intensive care. NPHET says the level of socialising is now back to pre-pandemic levels, but say it isn't considering any further restrictions. Dr. Tony Houlihan says people need to follow the basic measures to reduce transmission.
And that will mean cutting contacts and thinking a little bit and being more mindful of the plans that you have over a period of time, over the next week, over the next 2 weeks, to kind of ration, if you like, the kinds of discretionary activities that you might undertake. And if it is a thing that you're planning to, have a number of people over to the house, maybe it's a smaller number of people.
The HSE is rolling out campaigns in a number of areas across the country to boost uptake for COVID vaccines. It's focusing on some parts of Dublin, the Midlands, the North West to get more people registered. New figures show there are 8 counties where more than 10% of the eligible population haven't received a first dose. Monaghan, Donegal, Laois, Longford, Dublin and Cavan are the counties with the lowest proportion of over 12s fully vaccinated. Christine Loescher, Professor of Immunology at DCU, has been speaking to students who are reluctant to get the jab.
About a third of them were actually focused on concerns about fertility, and a lot of that's coming from social media, and it's very clearly misinformation. The other ones were questions about, whether they were going to require boosters at some stage in the future. They wanted to know about if they had COVID, did they still have to get a vaccine?
Gardaí in Dublin have arrested a man after a loaded gun was seized in Tallaght. Gardaí launched a search operation after a gun was fired at a residential property at Brookfield Road on Saturday night. Nobody was injured during the incident. A 20-year-old man was arrested following the search of 2 properties in Tallaght. He's currently being questioned at Tallaght Garda Station. It's 2 minutes past 9.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Book your Christmas winter sunbreak in Lanzarote, Tenerife and Gran Canaria.
Mainly dry with some patches of mist. There'll be some light showers in northern and western coasts. A cold night with lowest temperatures of -1 to +4 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
And we had another winner today. John Lakes was listening in Kilkenny. We rang him around 3 o'clock and he knew the correct amount in the cash machine was €4,403.11. And he walked away with all that cash. So good man, John. Enjoy. You'll have another chance to win tomorrow. Make sure you're listening to News Talk Breakfast and you will hear the cash total. Scribble it down. And if your phone rings just after 3, make sure and answer it.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch every single live Premier League game on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again. Do it then. What about your start to the game? It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone? Why should he?
Welcome along. Champions League evening. Should let you know Liverpool 2-0 up against Atletico Madrid at Anfield. They've been really good in the first half, Liverpool. Atletico often don't start games very well, it must be said, and they haven't really this evening. A couple of inquests after both goals, Suarez gesturing to teammates as if to say what is going on. The first courtesy of Diogo Jota on 13 minutes. The second, Sadio Mane, brilliant all the way through. He took a throw in on the left-hand side of the pitch and held off 3 Atletico players to open out the play, and it developed down the right-hand side. And Alexander-Arnold put in a brilliant cross for him, and you might not be shocked to hear Alexander-Arnold put in a brilliant cross for Diogo Jota as well. So both assists courtesy of early first-time crosses from Alexander-Arnold. The kind of whipped-in balls you've seen before a million times from this guy. So that's where Liverpool are, 2-0 up at half-time in their group, 1-1 between Milan and Porto. PSG, I see, have just taken a lead in their game away to RB Leipzig. It was Wijnaldum who scored their first, and it was Wijnaldum who scored their second. Why is it always so disappointing when it's not Messi, Neymar?
That's what people look to do, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like Wijnaldum twice. Dan McDonnell, hello.
Hi, Joe.
Messi not playing this evening, by the way, but Mbappe and Neymar are.
Unlikely to be him then. I mean, and yet you probably still look to see just in case to see.
Who knows?
Has he done something?
Real Madrid, by the way, 2-1 winners earlier on against Shakhtar, and Inter 0-0 against FC Sheriff on 50 minutes. Borussia Dortmund playing Ajax 1-0 to Dortmund thus far, and Sporting Lisbon 3-0 up against Besiktas. We'll keep you updated accordingly. Daniel McDonald, the Irish Independent, hello.
Hi, Joe. That's the second hello.
We're going to get to Duffer in a second,
okay.
Which is big news. It's great news. It's super for Irish football. Just to briefly mention for a moment, people keep saying he's the problem, screamed Rio Ferdinand in the BT studio. And I did think to myself, God,
we've had that chat, haven't we?
Possibly one of those people. And Ronaldo, as you knew he was going to do, would, and I think you used this very phrase, make you look foolish for thinking or saying that probably 15 times a season.
He's well on the way to that. I mean, I suppose not every goal he scores makes you look foolish, for saying that. I mean, if it's a fourth goal and a 5-0 win, not foolish. If it's a goal and a 5-1 defeat where they've been, outrun in other areas, probably not foolish. But when he keeps doing amazing things in the last minute of a game, it certainly does tackle the problem issue. Now, it still can be true that someone's style is not suited to the style of a team collectively overall, but I mean, if he is winning games for them or drawing games for them as it was last night, but still winning games as it was at the weekend with individual bits of brilliance, you can probably put up with some other stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that point that not every goal he scores vindicates him, because this is a terrible analogy to use, actually, but it just popped into my head. It's a sign of the times we're living in. The way we're measuring COVID deaths in part by comparison with the usual number of deaths in other given years. If you play up front for Manchester United, even you, Dan, across the course of a season, might nick one or two. You're going to score goals.
Maybe 3.
Maybe. Put the man on penos.
Yeah.
So your presence would have put Bruno off as well, they say, just hovering. Macron.
Well, it would have been like, what the hell is this fella doing here?
So there is a degree of
distraction.
There's going to be an inevitable number of goals. Are Manchester United scoring more goals than they were without Ronaldo last year is a maybe better indicator. But that said, I mean, the goal against Spurs was outrageous. The goals against last night were outrageous. Manchester United, though, I know you caught the last maybe 10-15 minutes. Across the 90 minutes, especially once Varane went off, they were a rabble. It was all-time low. So bad. I mean, the distances, the gaps between them all, you're talking, I'd say, 50 metres from defensive line to Ronaldo, and no shape in between. Bruno popping up, taking throw-ins at right wing back. No organisation. It was all over the place. And there was a period from second half to about the hour mark where you thought Scott McTominay was going to get sent off. He was at war. He was lunging into tackles. He was getting involved in tussles. He was getting on the ball, in fairness to him. McTominay's better than people are saying. He may not be Manchester United better or quality, but he's a good player. But he was at war. He got 1 yellow and had maybe 2 or 3 more yellow card offences, which the referee allowed. All the while, Pogba was just standing 10 metres next to him, just watching. Just not upping it, just not responding in a way that the great midfielders would, and digging him out and get involved as well. And he had given the ball away atrociously, I don't know how many times in the first half. But what caught my eye was on BT. Paul Scholes, I think, gave both the most withering assessment of Pogba and perhaps one of the more insightful assessments of Pogba, because he is an enigma. He does great things and he does very well for France, and it's just hard to figure out. So Scholes on Pogba made the point that, look, I've played with him. You really understand someone when you played with him. So he said, I don't think he's playing at the weekend. He's suspended. He said he wasn't great. He was sloppy. The quality today severely lacking. Here's the point. Pogba, said Scholes, needs someone with experience with him, talking to him the entire time. He's 28 now. He's considered experienced player. But when he's 35, he'll still be the same. He'll still be doing the same stupid stuff where he's stood rolling the ball and showing how skillful he is, and people know it now. The biggest thing with Paul is concentration. He goes away with the fairy sometimes. He will need aggressive management on the pitch and off until he's 35 years of age.
Yeah.
And it kind of rang true, I thought.
Yeah, no, listen, that is a strong assessment. I suppose I'm trying to think, when he has excelled with France, I mean, I know it's a different environment, a different scenario. I'm trying to think who's around him on the pitch with France. I mean, it's Kante, he's more of a lead by example figure.
I had that same thought.
Sort of would have been Matuidi at various times, or different. I'm probably forgetting a very obvious sort of French linchpin that might have been there. So, and obviously, listen, there'd be defenders and other players around them, I suppose, who have been directing. Who's there at the moment. But so I'm not sure I'd say that's 100% perfect, but as a theory. But I think it probably in a team where he doesn't necessarily have the most clearly defined role, or a very sort of flexible role, or in a chopping and changing role, then you can certainly see the merit in that. Yeah,
like the fact that it's someone who's played with him and has a sense of him saying it.
But he was.
If I
Scholes had played for him when he was a kid. Like, Scholes hasn't played with him the last 2 or 3 years either.
But he was militant about the point that, like,
he knows his style.
This is going to be the same when he's 35. I know this type of player. This is going to be the same when he's 35. I had the same thought as well. Well, you haven't played with him in a long time. He has gone and won a World Cup since you were with him. But Scholes said when he's 35, it will be the same. The point was made that at Juventus, where he played some of his best football as well, a lot of experience all around him in defence, in Pirlo, and he was talked through games and just kept plugged in.
Yeah, no, it's true. I suppose the language that you use about players when they're older, you talk about them when they're 34, 35, the wily veteran. I don't think we're ever going to be describing Paul Pogba maybe in those terms, the sort of veteran schemer, Pogba, those words that you ever actually say out loud, but you write them. Not necessarily of that, more of a free spirit.
No, I think so.
Probably playing in Qatar by then, or America. Probably America, actually.
How old is he? 28. He's a really experienced player, says Scholes, but he's one of them that will get to 35 and be exactly the same. And perfect moment for that ad to pop up. Oh yes, he'll still be doing the stupid stuff where he stood rolling the ball, holding people off. Here's the Juventus quote. You think of the Juventus team he played in, where he was brilliant, and that was why we signed him. The experience around him, Pirlo, Chiellini, Bonucci, Buffon, an aggressive manager. He will need that treatment until he's 35.
Yeah, so I mean, it does go beyond just his midfield partners, I guess. Although
everyone around him.
Pirlo was a pretty good one, to be fair. And you'd imagine he'd be a talker to some degree.
Yeah. So it was extraordinary, and Jake Humphrey was definitely trying to get Scholes to repeat his viral moment of, and if they play like that on, say, against City, what would you...
What score? 3-1, 4-1.
And Scholes was like, well, look, I don't want to say it again, but yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, well, I think it certainly tackles the Spurs representing a corner turned point. If anyone did buy into that.
Let's talk Duffer, because this is very exciting news. He's taken over at Shelbourne. In a moment, we have Owen Sheehan talking to Damien Duff. We'll play 1 or 2 other clips from a lively press conference as well, but just the news and what it means for Irish football and what it means for Shelbourne and attendances, and someone like Damien Duff involved in the game here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll hear the clips in due course. I actually was thinking about this earlier, that the League of Ireland at the moment it's okay. I heard you had Stewie Byrne on the other day. Shamrock Rovers are good champions, probably haven't been pushed enough to be able to say they're great champions. It's not their fault. Dundalk has been all over the shop this year. There's a couple of other clubs that I feel like they're going to be better in the coming years. I think St. Pat's under Stephen O'Donnell will be better. I feel Derry under Rory Higgins will be better. Yeah, and to a degree, it's always low-key, League of Ireland, and in other ways it's not. I feel like in recent years, you've had Bows, sort of their movement growing, and great attendances at games, and maybe sometimes you can have your own echo chamber in your sort of social media world, but crowds were up before the pandemic. But I feel like it's been very flat. But something that people would say about the league now is that maybe it's not like overflowing with massive characters, and it's not that. I think it's just that it's not in the nature of some of the most sort of really excellent coaches that are there at the moment.
Like, I'd bring back Roddy.
Yeah, well, it's, and a lot of people would. People would hark back to the golden era of like Roddy and Pat Dolan and Dermot Keeley, in some cases just agreeing to manufacture a controversy in the week of the game. It's like, and they had Roddy still has his column with the Star, as does Pat Dolan. Dermot Keeley would have had one with the Sun, and you'd have people absolutely hammering each other in columns, but it would actually generate an interest. And like Stewie's famous "I'm angry" quote, which that was just just anger. Like that wasn't like contrived. That was just pure anger. But there was a lot more bite in it, and in recent years there is rivalries. Rovers Bows is as good as ever, maybe even better than ever in some ways, but it's not necessarily the protagonists that are driving it.
Sure.
And now you have a genuine household name involved in the League of Ireland. He spoke today. We'll hear some clips. There'll be more stuff tomorrow. He would have spoken a bit about, say, facilities in Ireland and stuff, and all of a sudden you're thinking this is actually a real spokesperson for the league, and not that he's going to be a spokesperson for the league in the sense of being a propaganda machine. He won't be. Like, this can go both ways. Like, if Damien Duff comes in and finds that he doesn't like it, he doesn't enjoy it, he doesn't like aspects of how things are run, he'll be vocal about it, and that can go the other way. Right, yeah. But I think to have a recognisable voice, a potential voice for change, who can sort of speak impactfully about things that are wrong in the game in the country here, but he's seeing it from the inside, I think that can be very useful. And you have this sense that you're forever sort of trying to sell it, and you have to get beyond that point. You need people to have that recognition of players or characters, and they just don't need to do their homework to know that Damien Duff is the Shells manager. And I think it'll come across in these clips how, when you hear him speak, you just think, this is Duffer. This is when you're known by nickname by like people who've never met you. You've hit a certain sort of household name status, and it does come across in some of the stuff we're going to hear, I think.
Well, we'll get the ball rolling with Owen Sheehan, who was chatting to Damien Duff after his press conference this afternoon.
I was here already. I built good relationships up around the club. I like a lot of people. I like what the board are asking me to do, their vision for the club, and very, very simple. I'm here, I believe I'm ready, and I'm excited by the challenge.
So what have you seen at the club so far that excites you about taking the senior role and the manager's job?
It's just a chance to rebuild, and that might sound strange after the team winning the first division, but I think what's gone on in the past, I think it's a sleeping giant, but yo-yoing up and down from first division back to Prem, whatever's gone on before at Shelbourne for the past 10-15 years, I want to go the opposite way. So I believe it'll be exciting. Hopefully we'll win games. I know we'll lose games, but I think, going forward this season, the most important thing is just to bring stability back to the club by staying up. They've had a wonderful season, they won the league, but next year they have to stay up.
To what extent is this an attractive job to you, because you've got a great dialogue with the people running the club, and that there is maybe a greater sense of autonomy as manager of this football club than maybe anything overseas in particular?
Yeah, well, I'm not going away anytime soon anyway. I'm settled here with my wife and kids, so my football life is going to be in Ireland for the foreseeable future, for the next few years. I like the board's vision, I like what they say. They're hungry. Alan Caffrey, I know he has amazing drive. He wants to take the club to special places, and hopefully I can do that.
When it comes then to what you've seen with regards to the coaching in Ireland, first of all, the talent in this country, having worked at Rovers underage and having worked with Shells at underage, is it something that excites you? Is it something that's in a good place at the moment?
Absolutely. Even from going to games in recent weeks, we know the quality Rovers have. I think Stephen's done an amazing job there, but you go down and watch any Pats games, there's a lot of youth in the team. Stephen O'Donnell's done a brilliant job. The pace, the speed they play at, it's remarkable what he's done. So there's an awful lot of talent here. Granted, as I said before, do I know the league, the country, the players inside out? No, but day by day I'm getting there, and I'm encouraged by and excited by a lot of the players that I see.
You've already been speaking earlier on in the press conference about the morning training sessions. Can you explain to us why that's important, especially at a club who may not be fully professional?
I just think it goes hand in hand with an elite training environment. It also gives you the option to do a second session later on in the day. But I just think that's when you should train. If it's not rocket science, you go anywhere around the world. Yes, there might be the odd evening, afternoon session put in, but I think afternoons here encourages lads maybe to stay up late and not prepare, maybe have the odd shandy or two. So listen, that's my plan. It's not signed off on because I realise guys here have jobs. They they need to pay bills, because let's be honest, we're not going to become rich, whether it be a coach or playing here. So I know lads have to double job. So, but in my mind, that's where football should be at.
How much do players respond positively to that? Your insistence on the highest of standards, pushing them to their limits?
We'll soon see, but I guess it's the way you deliver. I think a strength of mine is building relationships and connecting with people, and you know, getting good people in the changing room, obviously on the staff as well. Just that buy-in from everyone. For me, it just all starts with standards. You can talk about coaching and ability in players, but it's all pointless if your standards aren't sky high. So that's what we'll be trying to instill in everyone on and off the club from day one.
Having been here for the last couple of years, how do you feel the League of Ireland is going in general and Irish football at grassroots level?
Yeah, listen, it's exciting stuff. Even going to the semi, Pat's Dundalk a couple of weeks ago, brilliant atmosphere. It was electric, to be fair. So it was great even to go to that game. Some amazing quality on view. So like I said, some top players in the league. The grassroots obviously being involved with that. The new League of Ireland structure. So there's some top quality games, just probably not enough. Whether they start seeding academies, I don't know. But listen, that's not for me. That's not for me to say.
Damien Duff there, speaking to Owen Sheehan. I was just thinking to you, Jernet, why is Duffer so likeable?
Yeah, but it's everyone remembers.
So you just feel like, God, I'd love to be mates with that lad.
But he's always, when you think about it, like, the first time I still remember Damien Duff is the Malaysian Marvels. Brian Kerr's team was it 97, 98, and even then you hear these stories, maybe subsequent, maybe not at the time, but the team talk was almost like, you know, Kerr giving everyone instructions and then saying, you know, Duffer, you do your thing. You know, and he sort of played with this sort of real, like I would always say about Damien Duff that he's not the best player to have ever played for Ireland, but I think he's probably the most exciting to have played for Ireland, you know, in the sense that when he was in his pomp around, probably to be fair, around the World Cup in 2002, that sort of up off your seat thing, and really, like, so there's a certain affection that's born from that, but there's a sense that really over the years, like, didn't like doing the media, but he's brilliant when he speaks. Didn't want to do coaching, but then you hear he's absolutely obsessively mad about it, you know, and just really sort of unfiltered, you know. There's nothing
very straight
there's
talking.
Nothing there's no there's clearly the odd line he throws out that he's probably thought about. It's not all that, you know, natural. I would say at times he knows the power of his voice, but there is a sense of, I didn't want to be famous, but it just so happened that I'm brilliant at this thing. And like, you hear the stories of him. I mean, what was that? I think it was a Sunday Times interview years back. The story about Damien Duff when he retired, still renting an AstroTurf pitch by his own.
It's so poignant.
To go up and just practice his skills.
Kick a football.
You know. Yeah. But I've spoken to people who've worked with him in his underage teams in recent years, and I mean, just the excitement around where this might go as such is just it's palpable. And they know he's got a real intense way about him.
Well, just on that point, because Owen asked him about the morning session, so I guess that came up in the press conference. Is he talking about a 10 a.m. morning training session, or is he talking about getting the Shells lads up for a 6 a.m.
Oh, no, not like the Dubs or something, like training behind hedges or whatever. We can't even talk about that. But no, it's more training full time in the morning, like a professional club.
Okay, work allowing for those guys.
Oh well, yeah, but I think it's a weird one at the moment in Ireland, because there's most clubs are now training in the morning and are effectively full time, but there'll be a handful of players who maybe do other stuff outside the game later in the day, and Shells are just going to have to maybe adapt to that environment. I don't see, with the demands he has, I thought it was a significant line in there with Owen's thing actually about there'll be room for a double session. Like, I don't think there's going to be too many Shells players, in my opinion anyway, doing a huge amount outside of the game. I'd say it'll be, you know, maybe spinning towards younger players or people in education and stuff like that. I would have thought, you know.
I would think body fat percentages will be low.
I don't think there's going to be a part-time feel about them, no.
Let's bring you a clip or two from his press conference then. So he was asked, obvious enough question here to get the ball rolling, why he decided to take the job.
Obviously, after coming back home after Celtic, Tony, getting involved with the Irish gig, but I just want to be on the grass every day, to keep improving as a coach, keep learning, keep trying new things. And they're probably the only club that welcomed me with open arms. they've let me get on with my thing for 18 months, and yeah, so I'm there. I've enjoyed it. It's probably not great that there's traffic back in the M50. It was great during COVID. I'd be there in 20 minutes, but otherwise they've looked after me from day one. And listen, they've asked me last week, a lot of soul searching probably. I was humming and hawing. It's obviously in the media already that I said no on Friday, but I think over the weekend, after speaking to Alan, Doc and Andrew Doyle, they wanted me to reconsider, and it was just soul searching with me. Where do I want to go with my life? Probably midlife crisis. You know, people have been telling me, you know, you need to start coming up with a plan. I'm obviously back home 18 months, and I didn't have a plan. Absolutely didn't. All I know is I love football, I love coaching, I love helping and improving players. So, similar to when I said I think on RT that I'd be unhappy with myself if I stayed. With this, I'd be unhappy with myself if I said no and turned it down, and it's as simple as that.
So, off the back of that answer, Damien Duff was asked why initially he had said no when Shells offered him the job.
Why did I say no? Probably because I was in the south of France drinking red wine. I was on my holidays. Listen, there was two reasons. One, I like to be able to... I like my life. I like to go away with the kids and, you know, just have my own time. So that was one. And secondly was, you know, it's totally out of the comfort zone stuff. And am I scared? Absolutely, yeah. Do I feel uncomfortable? Absolutely. But I've been preaching to kids since day one, my own two kids, 15s at Rovers, 17s at Shells, about showing personality, about showing courage, which they can lack at times. And for me to say no on Friday, I was lacking courage, I was lacking personality. So over the weekend, as I said, I didn't have to speak to anyone. Of course, the board told me to ask me to reconsider, and I did, and that was just soul searching. That's why I said no, for them two reasons alone. Like me holidays, and I was fearful of what I was getting into. But like I said, I can't preach to kids or coach the kids, whether it be men, women or child, and then turn it down. So that's why I'm here.
So, another question then for Damien Duff, now Shelbourne manager. He was asked about his coaching style, about his philosophy, about his makeup and what he's bringing to the party. Where does he get that from?
Well, listen, I've taken it from him everywhere. You know, my first session with Shelbourne first team, I'll be probably using bits from Jose Mourinho from 20 years ago. So for, you know, being involved with the FAI for 8 games, yes, I'll take bits, what's right, what's wrong. But you take that from everywhere, whether it be Celtic, Roy Hodgson, Giovanni Trapattoni, Jose Mourinho. I've taken everything. So, and then it's just putting I guess, your own stamp on things. I'll never change. I'm, like I said, energetic, emotional, so the players will soon learn that. I don't try and be anything I'm not. I realise we all have egos, but I don't think I've a particularly big one. I think if I did, I wouldn't be here today. So I want to be involved with Irish football. I want to help young and old, men and women. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon because my kids are happy here, my wife is here. So Ireland's stuck with me.
He can list off some managers.
It's not a bad CV of or sort of references he could go for, you know, and I suppose that brings authority straight away, as you sort of mentioned, like peak Mourinho, like he got really good Mourinho at his best, you know. And
lads, I know you don't like this drill, but we did this at Chelsea with Jose when we won the league. Yeah,
and that certainly helps, you know. So I think it could, you know, his personality probably comes across there. I think we played a small bit in the news round.
Oh, it's earlier. Coming again.
Oh, it's coming?
Will I just go to it?
Yeah, I'd go for it.
Okay, so look, he saw this question coming, and to put the question a bit more unfairly than I'm sure it was asked, you know, Duffer, you tend to jump around a bit. I mean, are you going to even be here in 6 months' time?
I knew I'd be asked this question, but I don't know how you prove longevity or commitment to a club. You know, I was at Shamrock Rovers as a player, obviously. And then as a coach for 18 months, I dedicated my life to 18 months to kids at Shamrock Rovers. It's never mentioned. I got stick for, you know, training at 6 o'clock in the morning and then bring them back out at 6 o'clock at night. I'd like to think they were the best days of them boys' careers so far today. I probably saw them kids more than I did my own kids, so dedicate my life to them. But I can't prove longevity by saying no to Celtic then. So if Celtic come and asked me to come and leave Shamrock Rovers 15s, everybody in the room would say yes. So I went to Celtic, Had an amazing time at Celtic. If I go back there tomorrow, I'll be welcomed back with open arms. Built amazing relationships with some special people. But when your wife and your kids are back home and your son and your daughter are asking, Daddy, forget about 8, 9 and 10, we just want you home, you come home, just like everybody else in this room. So I came home. I went to the Irish coaching gig, obviously. And again, as I touched at the start, I would have been unhappy with myself. So I'm not going to get into that today. But I'd like to think again, everybody in this room would have left the gig, which is what I did. But everywhere I've been, I'm now with Shell 17s and now the first team, I've dedicated my life to them. So longevity or impatient or always jumping ship, I actually don't when you strip it back and look at the ins and outs and the reasons. I'm incredibly dedicated. I dedicate my life to players. I'm still in touch with Celtic players. I'm still in touch with Shamrock Rovers under 15s players for help, for guidance, on and off the pitch. I tell my Shelbourne 17 players that now, on and off the pitch. I'm here till the day I die, till the day they die. If I bump into them in the street in 20 years' time, and it's going to be exactly the same with senior players, whoever they are next year. So I knew it would be asked, but I think it needed to be addressed, because to say I jump here, there, and I'm not. When I'm with players, they get the whole of Damien Duff. I give my life to them.
Well, I think that answers that. So I guess one last question before we take a short break. They're in the Premier Division, obviously, next year. What has he got to work with? What are their chances of survival next year, or are their ambitions higher than survival next year?
Well, I think he has a blank enough canvas, really, that, I mean, he can decide whether to retain a lot of the players that are there.
Would he have money to spend?
It seems that their budget might be something in the region of 12 to 13,000 euros per week, which would be mid-range. But their suggestion is that, you know, they might have a bit more investment coming in. I'm sure, you know, there'll be a bit more interest now, and that allow you? I mean, Shels in recent years, it must be mentioned, like, they haven't just say appointed Duff and this is their thing. Like, they've been making big moves in recent years to try and have a sort of a rebirth. I mean, earlier this year they hired Alan Caffrey from St Kevin's Boys, who would have, you know, the top schoolboy nursery in the country. They hired him to be their sporting and technical director to oversee their section. They're taking their women's team very seriously. Noel King was hired there, and the whole club was undergoing a bit of a rebrand. I mean, Duff was already there in the under-17s as it was. So there was a bit of chat over the last year or so that if Shels got promoted, they would be given it a crack. You know, like last year they were relegated, and the feeling was if they weren't relegated, they were going to go full time this year in the Premier Division if they'd stayed up. So I think what's going to be interesting is what sort of attraction is working with Duff to players, because there'll be a lot of other clubs with similar budgets probably competing for similar type players, and you just wonder, is the opportunity to work with Duff, to work with maybe Joey O'Brien if he's hired as a number 2, and to be part of something that's growing potentially, will that be attractive? So I think at the moment, as I said, like there's good league winners, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that a team that clicks and gets into gear could do well. What doing well represents, we'll find out, but it's going to be fun to watch it either way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, very good. Football on OTB is brought to you by Sky. You can watch every Champions League and Europa League match live on BT Sport this season. Liverpool still 2-0 up against Atletico, 15 minutes to go. Man City are now 3-1 up against Bruges again, 15 minutes to go.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
In a new original podcast series from News Talk, join me, Susan Bradley, as I meet the siblings of well-known public figures to explore their own personal and family stories. In episode 4, I catch up with Brad Habana, brother of Brian.
He did a full essay on why he believes he could be as good as Brian O'Driscoll.
It's All Relative with Susan Bradley.
Episode 4, available now at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud.
Love a space to call your own. Live in the better built surroundings of a Glenveigh home.
Love having a sense of place. And live for shaping it from the get-go.
Love green spaces and the joy of outdoors. Live where lower environmental impact is a way of life.
In a home built more sustainably for comfort, quality, and for people putting down roots just like you.
Love where you live. Community inspired and shaped by you and Glenveigh.
Home of the new.
Some days the couch just calls to us.
Take a seat.
grab the remote. My cushions are extra cozy today.
And while we all want to get off the couch to set a healthier routine, not knowing how to start can feel overwhelming. Healthy Ireland is a trusted source for easy-to-follow tips and advice, like getting a friend involved with your healthy habits so they'll be able to motivate you on those tougher days. Search Healthy Ireland and get set for life this winter. From Healthy Ireland, a Government of Ireland initiative supporting health and well-being for everyone, and helping us off our couches.
Over 2 centuries, one family business in Dublin has earned a name for excellence in funeral care. Every day they continue to work hard to retain that good name. The name is Fannigan's. Dubliners trust Fannigan's to take care of them on their final journey with empathy, compassion and dignity. And Fannigan's never forget whose journey it is. In over 200 years, some things don't change. Fannigan's, when your thoughts are with them, ours are with you. The Fannigan Group includes Carnegie's, Kirwins and Nichols.
Zero. It gets a bad rep. Like when people say they have zero interest in something. Well, if you're thinking of buying an electric car this year, you'll find this interesting, because at Nissan we see the power of zero. Introducing the Nissan Leaf Power of Zero offer. Buy a brand new 100% electric zero-emissions Nissan Leaf and get 1 year's free servicing, a free home charger, the lowest electric finance offer on the market, and great savings on running costs. Now that's the power of zero. Find out more at nissan.ie.
Is your business future ready? At Skillnet Ireland, we believe talent is key to any business reaching its potential. That's why we focus on making your business the best it can be. Together with our 73 Skillnet business networks, we offer innovative learning and development programs designed around your needs. Discover how we can help you transform your business today. Visit skillnetireland.ie. Skillnet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Hi, I'm Calvin and I'm 10 years old. For me, the best thing about Christmas is spending time at home and playing with my toys. My little sister Amelia is 5 years old and loves to play with her sensory toys too. Our Jack and Jill nurse helps us a lot by giving my mum some time to herself, as my sister needs 24/7 care. So please donate what you can for the 400 children across Ireland who need Jack and Jill this Christmas. Thank you.
At Betfair, we know how it feels when you're in the moment, in the heat of the match, and you decide to hit cash out. Only to find cash out is suspended and you're frozen out of your bet. That's why when you bet fair on football, you can cash out when you want, with no suspensions on match odds. We won't freeze you out of your bet because we're Betfair.
Applies to sportsbook match odds markets on majority of football. Excludes free bets, exchange bets, bet builder and bet settlement window. T's and C's apply. 18+. See gamblingcare.ie. Please gamble responsibly.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch every UEFA Champions League and Europa League match live on BT Sport this season.
You're very welcome back. So I'll just give you scores for Man City in the Champions League this evening. 3-1 up now against Club Brugge. It was Phil Foden playing in the false 9 role this evening on 15 minutes, who scored their first. Mahrez their second, and Sterling just in the last few moments has scored their third. So Man City cruising 3-1 up this evening. They will be at Old Trafford 12:30 on Saturday. PSG, courtesy of 2 Ronaldo goals, still 2-1 up away to Leipzig. As for Liverpool's Group B, 1-1 between Milan and Porto, and as things stand at Anfield with about 10 minutes to go, Liverpool 2, Atletico Madrid 0. And to that end, Republic of Ireland international Louise Quinn is with us on the line. Hey Louise.
Hey Joe, hey Dan, how's things?
Yeah, great. We're putting you in the pundits chair this evening, so we've been keeping an eye on this game. I saw a bit of the first half. Can we start with Trent Alexander-Arnold's right boot maybe?
Yeah, ridiculous. Just exactly what he does, puts amazing balls into the box, and for him it was a great ball in for Jota to get a little kind of tap-in header, but you know, he put it right in that the corridor of uncertainty, to be honest, you know, right where the goalkeeper doesn't want to come, the defenders find it hard to run backwards, and you know, there is that risk of, tapping it into their own net, to be honest, but it was, absolutely, in the first 7 minutes, what a ball. Easy goal for Jota then in the end. And then, pretty much almost same for the second goal. But I would say he was actually, so for Mane's goal, he was probably taking a shot. But again, nice for him. It was a good strike trying to put it across the goalkeeper. But then Mane, again, was just there to run onto it. It was probably pulling wide. But just again, he's just been phenomenal again down that right-hand side, even just sometimes creeping in. creeping in. They were kind of saying even to like the Jordan Henderson position to kind of whip that ball in. And he's just been, incredibly strong all game. And again, defensively, there was obviously a lot of questions asked to him, last year about how he is defensively, and he's been just on everything, to be honest.
I'd be curious for your reading of the situation as a defender, because for the first goal, the cross in for Jota, Alexander-Arnold whips it in first time, and the way the ball was played back to him, it didn't look like the easiest of angles, and it looked like two of the Atletico defenders started to step out, almost like let's try and push up a little bit, and they were almost taken a bit by surprise that he whipped it in first time.
Yeah, to be honest, I think so. It was Jordan Henderson who set it back to him, but it was just the perfect pace. It wasn't something where he had to take a touch on it. And they even showed in the analysis before, when Jordan Henderson had the ball, straight away, Alexander-Arnold checks the shoulder, looks into the box, then just about gets the ball, and then again that little look into the box before he was just about to play it in. And it was just perfect. It was, and the defenders were starting to step up, which I suppose it's almost that kind of rule for defenders. As soon as you kind of see the ball being played backwards, you try to take those extra couple of yards to shorten the spaces. But Alexander-Arnold just saw, as I said, the corridor, we like to call it, and it's such a horrible one for a goalkeeper and defenders to try to do anything about, and then it's just easy for the strikers to run onto.
So 2-0 overall. What about Liverpool's performance generally, or the game generally?
Yeah, really, it honestly could be 6-0, I'd say.
Right.
This second half, straight away, Jota had a goal that was disallowed. Jota missed a bit of a sitter. They've just had chances where they really could have put it away, and Atletico even had a goal disallowed as well, which could have really just put the pressure on. Just from they had an offside position, but Atletico themselves are down to 10 men. The first half was wild, to be honest. The intensity of the game, Liverpool are playing phenomenal. We know that Atletico Madrid are incredibly good defensively and pressing the ball, but Liverpool have just been one step ahead of them the whole time. It was then just a crazy challenge by one of the central defenders, on a recovery back, and he did just really kind of slip his studs down the back of Mane's Achilles, and essentially that was it. And it was kind of like, right, it was obviously 70 yards away from goal, definitely a yellow. And then so was Felipe. He just decided to keep ignoring the referee. It was actually bizarre. The referee blew the whistle like 3 times and tried to call him back, and Felipe just went down, started fixing his socks, didn't do anything, didn't really look at the ref, maybe gave him a bit of a thumbs up from about 40 yards away. And so the ref just sent him off. And it's one of those where it's just been, it's been hectic. Mane got a yellow, so they took him off naturally at half time, just to kind of save themselves there, because it's been a really fiery game. But it's been, Liverpool have just been on top. But they're going to be disappointed not putting away the chances and still making it a little bit tighter than it should be.
Yeah, I've just as you were talking here and paying closer attention, Salah's done about 8 brilliant things on the right hand side, so he's been lively, I suspect, for most of the game.
Yeah, and he's actually just done it again in the box. There's just been a couple of times as well. He's obviously been so on form, and like the goals against City and Brighton and stuff like that, where he's just been incredible at getting into the box. But there's times where he should have just released the ball. But again, he's just full of confidence. He may as well just kind of go for it. But again, there's been so many players that could have scored a lot of goals now to really put it away. But you can see that Salah, he's desperate at the moment. But that's kind of how obviously Liverpool want him to be, and eager to get the goals all the time.
Who do you think is going to win the league, by the way?
Ooh, good. I really think obviously Liverpool are definitely pushing it in the form that they're in, but obviously Chelsea are really pushing. But I don't know. I just feel Chelsea could be slightly more vulnerable at the moment, just with a few more injuries, like a couple of injuries that they've had to Lukaku and the likes. But I think obviously how Tuchel, his tactics to go win a game are incredible. But again, if they kind of keep this intensity, you know, again, it's going to be neck and neck, really. But obviously, I'm going to go for Liverpool, though.
Oh, you're a Liverpool fan, are you?
I'm a Liverpool.
Oh, I didn't know that. I wouldn't have asked then.
Yeah, all my life. Yeah.
Let's talk Ireland. Helsinki. That's a really big night for this team, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was almost just one of those where I just think at the end of the game, I was just like, we just deserved it. It was obviously absolute backs to the wall. I think Liverpool have another disallowed goal there. But yeah, just, you know, in the Finland game, you know, backs to the wall for the last, what felt like about an hour, but was, you know, 10 to 15 minutes of where we really had to defend incredibly strong. You know, and kind of take on that pressure. I suppose not that we definitely did kind of sit off a bit, maybe a little bit too much, but again, it was just down to a little formation change to try and, you know, stop them what they were doing. And, you know, for me, they were looking for some of those longer balls. I thought Niamh and Savannah again did incredibly well. They were kind of playing those balls to kind of the slightly wider centre backs and their centre forwards to look for a knockdown. And, you know, everyone was just reading it and following their players and bodies on the line. Jamie Finn almost got her head chopped off. And then Heather Payne was just phenomenal. You know, she did a tackle on the edge of the box. I think that just gave us that boost of energy. And again, it was nervy, but I didn't feel like they were going to score. Everyone was putting everything out there. And it was kind of just one of those, do you know what, we deserve that. We needed it. We played for that. You know, even just again, I feel like it's just been lots of little bits of where we're unlucky. You know, and felt like obviously with such a positive performance against Sweden, obviously the excellent performance against Australia. You know, that was for us. It was massive, and we just took advantage of it.
Yeah, I did. I think Louisa was interesting. I was reading some of the comments afterwards from I think yourself and I think Katie the night of the game, and the senior players, that it seems like you're sort of not torn between, but there's a sense of there's natural excitement that you've landed that win, but also just trying to caution people about it is only just one game. But like, how do you feel about November now, these games, that it just feels like there's going to be probably more pressure? Even I know there was pressure towards the end of the last campaign, but it sort of feels even now this one in terms of awareness has exploded even more so, that there's going to be a real proper scrutiny around these games now. And do you sort of embrace it? Do you tell the younger players to enjoy it? Or is there a certain sense of, okay, this is a certain apprehension about what's coming down the tracks here, that this is all of a sudden, I mean, this is going to be a real potential life changer for some of these players?
Yeah, I suppose it is a certain amount of pressure, but this sort of pressure is definitely privilege, you know, to kind of be able to see that there's an opportunity for us to qualify for a World Cup. And again, obviously there was a bit of that scrutiny of a lot of the previous games that we had played, and you know, against bigger teams, not getting the wins, but those games were pressure games in themselves, you know, or just that change of mindset that, okay, when we play in these bigger games against bigger teams, how can we do about it? Like, what can we do about it? And how can we handle the pressure? So I don't know, there really is, like, obviously since even at the start of the Australia game, we hadn't even played it yet, there was just this air of confidence and excitement, and everyone just feeling comfortable and good, like, you know, how things are going and the position that everyone is in, you know, either club-wise or just kind of, just how we've developed, and it's just kind of gone on from there. So these are big games, but for us, 2 home games against teams where hopefully we can put performance in. But we've seen Slovakia you know, are putting in a really strong campaign as well, and obviously just even as we were going through clips of the likes of Finland as well, and Sweden, like, you know, we saw bits of Georgia at the same time. And again, it's not a team that we can just be like, that's going to be a 3 points in the bag. Absolutely not. But every game, it's just every international game is the biggest game of your life, to be honest. You know, that's how I kind of feel about it. It's, you only get together for such a short time, and and it's an honour. So for me, they're always the biggest games, putting on the Irish jersey and playing. So, but we just have this kind of this confidence now that is going around kind of each player, and then I think it's just to add that little extra bit of belief, to be honest, like as in when we get to kind of in the final third and, you know, in our individual ability kind of with the ball, because again, we knew we should have done better with that in Finland, even though we felt very in control, just some decisions on the ball. And it's actually just that bit of belief that actually some teams may not be able to put it up against us, and we really felt that in the first half with Finland. But then we've got to be like, yeah, okay, we can take control of this.
There's definitely, I don't know how true it is, I get a sense of this team, largely maybe because of the disappointment of the last campaign where you started so well and it faded away, and I'm sure that was kind of a painful watch, then watching the championships happening without your involvement. No one's getting too far ahead of themselves here. I get the sense of, right, we're not letting this one slip again, and it's there's a sense of focus and team on a mission. I just get that vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a really long campaign, and still obviously have Sweden away and Finland at home then, you know, later on in the year. But again, for us, it's just not letting the opportunity slip away. And at the end of the day, if a team is better than us on the pitch on the day, then that's football and that's sport. But if we can put everything forward and just kind of, not, you know, again, in that Ukraine game, if they had beaten us for the right reasons, you can take that.
Yes.
But it wasn't that way. We were disappointed in ourselves, and having fear going into a game. So I feel like we've shrugged a lot of that off the shoulders. There's not many worse feelings that kind of happened in that game. So, you know, now the rest is just like, you know what, let's take the pressure, take it on, do our best, you know, enjoy it. Just the players have been just taking so much responsibility themselves as well. We're really seeing kind of so many individuals just kind of like step it up another gear. And that's you know what you want and what's going to make us grow and make hopefully this campaign, you know, a successful one. Yeah,
well, look, fingers crossed, everyone's watching. So thanks so much for doing the punditry role for us this evening, Louise Quinn. Cheers.
No worries, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a mil. Louise Quinn there. Liverpool still 2-0 up with 30 seconds to go at Anfield.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
Cast your eye over a spellbinding seascape in the depths of Dublin Bay. Idir Hala agus Arige na Daoine is an Dúlra. You need an eye that's wide to follow an Cuan. Fech only on TG Cahid and the TG Cahid player. Eyes wide with wonder. Foshnish, TG Cahid.
Eurocycles, Euro baby. Come on down, lads. The crack is mighty. The Eurocycles, Euro baby. Prices can't be bet. For bicycles and things with wheels and lots for babies, yeah.
At EurocyclesEurobaby.com, Eurocycles Eurobaby Long Mile Road and Airside Swords. Check out the massive range of electric bikes, prams, push chairs and more.
The Eurocycles Eurobaby prices can't be bet. For bicycles and things with wheels and lots for babies, yeah. See our product range and buy online at EurocyclesEurobaby.com.
When it comes to vans, the Peugeot partner ticks a lot of boxes, and with up to 1,000 kg payload, it carries them too. Choose from 2 body lengths, 1 or 2 sliding side doors, up to 3 seats, 5 levels of spec, and safety features like a full steel bulkhead. With Peugeot's unique iCockpit interior and hands-free Bluetooth, the award-winning Peugeot partner is your perfect business partner. For flexible payment options and to book a test drive, visit Peugeot.ie.